Sorceress. Do we have new information on Sorceress? Look at that Inferno. Caster, mana, Cold Fire Lightning, basic core, defensive, conjuration, mastery, ultimate, Chain Lightning, Fireball, Frozen Orb, Blizzard, Incinerate. Turn up to 2 active skills and a powerful passive effects. She has the enchantment system. And usable weapons, wand, stabs, and focuses. Alright. Yeah, so we do have a more in-depth look at the skills of the Sorceress. Frostbolt. Throw a Frostbolt at an enemy, dealing 35% damage and chilling them for 15%. Okay, so yeah. In the Druid, the flat damage stuff is going to be gone. They're going to go back to essentially the Diablo 3 style where all of your skills are going to be based on your weapon damage. So you'll have a wand and your wand will just do like 900 to 1400 damage. And then this will do 35% of that. Or maybe it'll have an exact number. 1136 weapon damage. And so all skills will be based off of that, which does go similar to the D3 style, as opposed to the, skills have their own flat damage type. Throw a Frostbolt at an enemy. I personally don't like that system as much, but that's what they've gone with. Dealing 35% damage and chilling them for 15%. I think the thing is, the reason that they like it, my assumption, is because, one, it's probably easier for a new player to understand, and two, it's easier to balance around and scale the character, right? I think that's the main reason. Because I'm dealing with this right now in Llama RPG. I don't want to do it like this, where it's just percent of damage and that's it, because I don't like that system. But I am noticing, yeah, it would be much easier in Llama RPG when I'm creating the skill system if all the skills just go off the main weapon, because then you just get a bigger weapon and then all of your skills just get a little bit more damage. And so now you don't have to worry that this level 1 skill becomes unusable after level 10. It's right. So the thing is, though, it removes a little bit of it's a little lazy game design. I do agree. Personally, I think it removes all of that idea. You're like, well, I don't have to think about balancing it and stuff anymore. Now it's just I put bigger weapon and everything is balanced with that. And the system goes along those ways, but it ends up being, in the end, I didn't like it in Diablo 3. And it gives way too much power to purely what is your weapon damage. You end up with sorceresses that just run around with big two-handed staffs for biggest damage or whatever the heck they have in their hands, because it bigger damage. So, I mean, we'll just see. But yeah, we'll see how it ends up. Enchantment slot effect: your direct damage has up to 100% chance to chill for 30%. Okay, well that's nice. Up to 100%. Dude loves his D2. I do love my D2. But I still I don't like all skills being percentage of weapon damage. I mean, I've played both sides, and I just don't like that system. In lots of games I've played, I prefer skills kind of being a separate piece of their own style. And maybe having some effect from some skills in some capacity, but it's just my personal opinion. You can do what you want. Frostbolt upgrades. Frostbolt has a 15% chance to explode on chilled targets. Hitting surrounding enemies. Chance increased to 100% against frozen targets. So it seems like you just chill, freeze, and then chill, freeze, and just kind of expands around. Firebolt makes frozen enemies vulnerable for 3 seconds. Nice, so they take more. And Frostbolt generates 4 mana. And again, remember, here are the status, key, and effect words. Barrier, absorb all damage. Berserk, increase damage and movement speed. Chilled, they reduce movement speed, and repeatedly doing so will freeze them. Crackling enemy deals damage to others. Dazed cannot attack or use skills, but can move. Fortified characters take 10% reduced damage, and that's when you have more fortify than current life. Frozen enemies can't move or attack. Healthy is more than 8% life. Immune characters cannot be damaged by all negative effects, and all negative effects are removed and prevented. Injured characters less than 35% life. Overpowered deals bonus damage based on the sum of your current life. Stealth cannot be directly targeted, but using attack will take you out. Unstoppable. Characters have all control impairing effects removed and prevented. And vulnerable enemies take 20% increased damage. So this would make them take increased damage. And this generates 4 mana while hitting chilled or frozen enemies. And this doesn't say, because this is a generator, right? But it doesn't say how much it generates. Firebolt, hurl a flaming bolt dealing 10% damage and burning for 40% over 8 seconds. Very basic. Lucky hit, your direct damage has up to 100% chance to burn enemies for 23% chance over 8 seconds. Firebolt pierces burning enemies for enhanced. Flickering Firebolt generates 2 mana when hitting a burned enemy. Critical strikes with Firebolt increase the burning damage the target takes by 20% for 4 seconds. Okay. Arc Lash. Unleash Arc Lightning that shocks enemies in front of you for 42%. Every 10 times Arc Lash swipes, it stuns all enemies hit for 2 seconds. Whenever you're hit, there's a 20% chance the attacker is stunned for 1 second. Interesting. If Arc Lash's initial swipe is critically strikes, it swipes an additional time. That could be really good with some of these crit strike builds, I imagine. Gain 6% movement speed for 5 seconds per enemy hit with Arc Lash, up to 18%. Hitting a stunned enemy with Arc Lash reduces your cooldowns by 0.25 seconds. 0.25 isn't very much, but I'm guessing if you can just Arc Lash a ton of times, and if you can get them stunned really easily, you could probably reduce your cooldowns really fast. Spark, launch a bolt of lightning that shocks an enemy. Yeah, cooldown reduction is always really strong, and this doesn't have like a min or max on it, so I think this could be a lot. Dealing shocks an enemy 4 times, dealing 8% damage each hit. Killing an enemy has a 10% chance to form a crackling energy, which just randomly damages. Spark upgrades. Each time Spark hits, there's a 20% chance to hit up to 3 additional enemies, dealing 6% damage. If there are no other enemies to hit, Spark instead deals 20% increased damage to its primary target. Each time Spark hits an enemy, it has a 3% chance to spawn crackling energy, or Spark grants 2% increased crit strike chance per cast for 3 seconds, up to 10%. Ice Shards. Mana cost 30, cold damage. Launch 5 shards that deal 25% damage each. Deals 25% increased damage to frozen enemies. Ice Shards automatically conjure and fly towards frozen enemies. That's this is if you make it an enchantment slot effect. Okay, I was wondering what that piece was. So you can have up to 2 of these where you take a skill and make them do that. Got it. Ice Shard upgrades. Ice Shards have a 15% chance to ricochet to another enemy. That's nice. While you have a barrier active, Ice Shards treats enemies as if they were frozen. Wow. 25% increased damage to frozen enemies. Hitting an enemy with 5 ice shards in a single cast makes them vulnerable for 2 seconds. Frozen Orb. Unleash an orb that chills for 34% and expels piercing shards, dealing a total of 32% damage. This has mana cost 40, but I don't see any cooldown on it. Upon expiration, Frozen Orb deals 29% damage and chilling enemies for 9%. Oh, right. So enemies have like a percentage of chill because when they hit 100%, they're frozen. Enchantment slot effect. Whenever you cast a non-basic skill, you have a 20% chance to launch a frozen orb at a nearby enemy. It's kind of nice. When cast above 50 mana, frozen orb's explosion damage is increased by 30%. Wow. Frozen orb's explosion has a 25% chance to make all enemies it hits vulnerable, or its explosion restores 5 mana when hitting a frozen enemy. So if you have, it feels like if you can get things frozen quickly, you'll be able to just like spam out orb and stuff. I will say I don't like the look of it very much. I've seen it before. It looks a little corny. It moves too fast, maybe. I don't know. That's one I wish they would rework the look a little. Looks sick too. I mean that's my personal thought. I think it looks too comic-y. I think the animation could be a cooler look. Hurl an exploding ball of fire, dealing 60% damage to surrounding enemies. Why are all the fire showcases so lame? They're just like hitting walls and pots. When you kill an enemy, they explode in a fireball for 50% of its damage. Wow.
Whoosh, pow, kablam.
That seems like a really good enchantment slot effect. Fireball costs 10 less mana. When you cast Fireball while healthy, it has a 50% increased radius and deals 20% increased critical strike damage. While healthy, 50% increased radius and deals. Wow. So being healthy there. And Fireball deals 20% increased damage to the first enemy hit by its explosion. Incinerate. Mana cost 20 per second. Channel a beam of fire, burning for 36%. Increased by 18% per second, up to 71%. Wow. We can watch it. It's just that fire we saw before. Lucky hit. Direct damage has up to an 8% chance to spawn a rotating incinerate beam. Yeah, that looks really cool in my opinion, the flamethrower. That might be really good. While channeling Incinerate, you take 30% less damage from close enemies. Incinerate now starts at full power, but its channeling cost is increased by 80%. While channeling Incinerate, you burn enemies around you for 15% of the damage per second. Ooh. Could be really good. Charge Bolt. Release 5 bolts of lightning that course along the ground in an erratic pattern, dealing 15% each. That feels like it could be an improved animation as well. Whenever you are hit, there's a 40% chance to release 5 charge bolts. Enchantment slot effect. Upgrades. Charge Bolt gains an extra projectile. Charge Bolt deals 25% increased damage to stunned. Hitting an enemy at least 5 times with charge bolts in a single cast reduces their damage dealt by 20% for 3 seconds. At least 5 times with charge bolt in a single cast. Oh, okay. I got it. Chain Lightning. Mana cost 35. Unleash a strength. I don't think Charge Bolt's going to be very good. 42% damage and chains between nearby enemies and you. Up to 4 times. So I guess if there's not enough monsters, like in D2, if you shoot Chain Lightning, it would just stop. But here it'll come back to you, so it'll go back to them. Chain Lightning forms automatically after spending 100 mana. That could be really strong. Oh my god. Bounces to 1 additional enemy. Deals 5% increased damage per enemy hit. And when Chain Lightning critically strikes, it has a 25% chance to spawn Crackling Lightning. Ice Armor, 19.6 second cooldown. A barrier of ice forms around you for 6 seconds, absorbing 30% of your base life and damage. While it's active, 10% of your cold damage dealt is added to its barrier. Oh my gosh. Upon getting hit, you have a 5% chance to apply Ice Armor. Yeah, I think this is one of the ugliest skills they have. I mean... while it's active, your mana regeneration is increased by 25%. While its barrier is at or above its original amount, you deal 30% increased damage? Jesus. That's gross. Enemies that hit you while Ice Armor is active have a 15% chance to be frozen.
I'm ready for my benefits, boss.
Thank you, Dustin. Kisses to you. Your benefits are coming. Unleash a torrent of frost for Frost Nova, freezing enemies around you for 2 seconds. Okay, so you just get to freeze them, so then you're damaged. So that's a guaranteed way to freeze, which is really good to have on this, it feels like. Critical strikes have up to a 30% chance to make you your active conjuration skills unleash a Frost Nova. Wow. Oh, but that requires a crit strike. Okay. Frost Nova's radius is increased by 25%. That'll be really nice. Frost Nova's freeze duration is increased by 20% when hitting 3 or more enemies. Frost Nova generates 4 mana per enemy hit. Frost Nova is going to be really strong, it feels like, with how good freeze is. Engulf yourself in flame for 2 seconds, burning nearby enemies for 7% per second. When Flame Shield is active, you are immune. So that's just 2 seconds of immunity. Flame Shield automatically activates when you take fatal damage. Oh no, they put a cheat death in the game. I don't like that. Cheat deaths are so lame. Every 2 minutes you get a cheat death. Flame Shield grants 25% movement speed while active. Enemies continue burning for 3 additional seconds after being hit by Flame Shield. Flame Shield makes enemies vulnerable for 4 seconds. It's basically a rejuve, but it automatically activates. It's a rejuve that you don't have to push. Because your potions are already like rejuves. Yeah, this makes me worry that every class is going to get a cheat death now. They don't right now, but I feel like they will if they don't have one. Yeah, because every class in D3 has one, right? It lasts 2 seconds. Yes. So it automatically activates when you take fatal damage for 2 seconds. You're immune, so nothing can hurt you for those 2 seconds. You need to heal in that time, essentially. Or evade out or whatever. Teleport. 10.8 seconds. Transform into lightning, becoming unstoppable and surging to the target location, dealing 25% damage around you upon arrival. Evade is replaced with teleport on a 17-second cooldown. Okay, so then you have... Okay. After teleporting, take 30% less damage for 5 seconds. Yeah, that's actually pretty big. Yep, because then you get another skill slot. For 4 seconds after teleporting, crackling energy deals 40% more damage, or teleport's cooldown is decreased by 0.5 seconds per enemy hit, up to 3 seconds. Wow. Big announcement comes later today. Ice Blades. Cooldown. These are conjuration skills, 11.8 seconds. Conjure Ice Blades for 6 seconds that rapidly slash enemies for 31% damage and 20% chance to make them vulnerable. I mean, I feel like you'll be able to get 50% cooldown reduction and have this always up. Oh, it's the swords that are swinging around. Okay. Killing an enemy has a 10% chance to conjure Ice Blades. That's enchantment slot effect. Ice Blades has 10% increased chance to make enemies vulnerable. Summon Ice Blades. Every time Ice Blades hits a vulnerable enemy, it gains a 25% attack speed up to 100%. Killing a vulnerable enemy increases your active Ice Blades duration by 1 second. Wow. So yeah, I think you'll just be able to have this up 100% of the time. Hydra. Summon a 3-headed Hydra for 8 seconds. Mana cost 20. I don't see a cooldown. Each head spits fire at a nearby enemy, dealing 30% damage.
But no, ultimates, long cooldowns, cheat death. Weapon damage scaling. They literally took all the worst parts, aha. We just wanted the gameplay LMAO.
You're going to get some flame for that comment, but I do agree with part of it. I do think some of the stuff from D3 they could have taken, and some of the things I would have been like, oh, maybe don't take those, and they took the ones that I would have. Oh, okay, you only get one Hydra up at a time. That's why. When a burning enemy is killed, a Hydra head spawns from its corpse for 3 seconds. Okay, is that just going to be super OP? Hydras last for an additional 4 seconds, including the ones that spawn from this, maybe? If that's true, you get 7 seconds. That would be really good. Hydra also burns enemies for an additional 12% of its base damage dealt over 6 seconds. So then all the enemies are burning. When it dies, it just keeps... I feel like you're just going to get crazy Hydra spam. After you critically strike, Hydras gain 15% attack speed. Okay. Lightning Spear, 19.6 seconds. Conjure a crackling spear of lightning that seeks out enemies for 6 seconds, dealing 15% per hit. It's like stunning him every single time. Jeez. 15% per hit. Absorbing crackling energy has a 10% chance to conjure a lightning spear. I don't know what absorbing it means exactly. Lightning spear has a 10% increased chance to critically strike against stunned enemies. Collecting crackling energy reduces the cooldown of lightning spear by 0.5 seconds. Okay, so absorbing and collecting, I'm guessing, are the same thing. After critically striking, lightning spear has a 5% increased stacking critical strike chance for its duration. After critically striking, lightning spear has a 5% increased stacking critical strike chance. Okay. Got it. Blizzard. Summon a frigid blizzard that deals 120% damage and continuously chills enemies for 18% over 6 seconds. So it's just going to do chilling 18, 18, 18, 18, 18 with big damage. I also don't see a cooldown on this. Every 15 seconds, a blizzard forms over you and follows you for 4 seconds. Holy cow. Blizzard's duration is increased by 2 seconds. Every second an enemy is in blizzard, they take 2.5% increased damage from you up to 20%. While you have an active blizzard, your core skills cost 10% less mana. And you'll have one, 25% of the game. 28%. Wow, okay. Summon a meteor that strikes target location, dealing 50% damage and burning the ground for 35% damage over 3 seconds. Meh. Every time an enemy takes burning damage, there's a 3% chance a meteor falls on them. It looks better than Blizz. For sure. But I still don't like cooldown and stuff on it. It feels like it's going to be... Unless a lot of monsters just do stand still. If meteor hits 3 or more enemies, there's a 30% chance an additional meteor falls on the same location. Meteor falls 30% faster and costs 6 less mana. Like Diablo 2, meteor also kind of sucks because it just takes a while. Meteor's impact immobilizes enemies for 2 seconds. That would probably be nice with the second one coming down. Firewall. Create a wall of flames that burns enemies for 160% damage over 8 seconds. Bro, Firewall. 160% damage compared to 50% damage. Psh, give me that Firewall any day. Direct damage has up to 50% chance to spawn a Firewall for 3 seconds. That could also be really strong. Enemies that stand in Firewall for at least 2 seconds take 25% increased burning damage from all sources. Yes, all of these are based off of weapon damage like in D3 there. That's what the percentage is. Each enemy standing in Firewall increases your mana regen by 5%. Wow. Spartan, thank you. You deal 5% increased damage per active Firewall. How long does it last? 8 seconds? Firewall source, let's go. Conjure a ball of lightning that slowly moves forward, continually zapping enemies for 15% damage. When crackling energy would form, there's a 10% chance ball lightning is formed instead. Ball lightning deals damage 30% more frequently. Each time it hits an enemy, it deals 2% increased damage up to 30%. If an enemy is hit at least 4 times, a crackling energy is formed. This was Firewall. Ultimate skills, 60 seconds essentially. Encase yourself in ice, becoming immune for 4 seconds, continually chilling enemies for 20%. When deep freeze ends, frozen enemies shatter for 200%. Casting deep freeze again ends it early. Right, that one. Gain 5% of your base life as a barrier for 6 seconds for each enemy shattered. Oh, wow. So then you get a nice barrier too. When deep freeze ends, your non-ultimate cooldowns are reduced by 50%. Wow. Cooldown 44 seconds. Inferno. Ignites a roaring inferno that pulses in and out of the target area, burning enemies for 295% damage over 8 seconds, and then explodes, dealing 50% damage to enemies on the outer edge. This is that one that has the... It's one of the coolest looking skills. Where's the explosion at the end? Enemies inside of Inferno's final explosion are immobilized for 4 seconds. Killing a burning enemy reduces Inferno's cooldown by 1 second. Wow. So you're going to be able to get this off way faster. I mean, you could easily reduce that a ton. That seems really, really strong, Supreme Inferno. Unstable currents, lightning surges within you for 10 seconds. Thank you. Get your gun. Whenever you cast a lightning skill, another random non-basic lightning skill is also cast. And it says whenever you cast a lightning skill, which means you can cast probably one of your basic generator ones. And then just cast all of these different ones. It says non-basic, but it doesn't say non-ultimate. Does that mean it can cast unstable currents again and again? Unstable currents increases attack speed by 25% while active. While unstable currents is active, collecting crackling energy increases its duration by 0.25 seconds. I have to see more with this crackling energy stuff. Passives. Your non-physical damage and resistances are increased. Deals increased damage to healthy enemies. Your damage increases over time. Casting a skill resets its effect. So, I mean, that's a decent amount. Elemental critical strikes reduce the cooldown of your defensive skills. This effect cannot occur more than once every 10 seconds. You deal 18% increased damage, but take more damage. Glass cannon. Your lucky hit chance is increased up to 15%. You gain up to 15% damage reduction against elites for each second you don't take damage from any of these sources. Up to 50%. Wow. Don't get hit and you are powerful for that. Well, I guess that's damage reduction, not damage gain. Every time you spend 100 mana, you gain damage reduction for 5 seconds. Jesus. I feel like in endgame, you're going to spend 100 mana pretty quick. You'll just be running around with tons of damage reduction. Using a cooldown grants 30% of your maximum life as a barrier for 5 seconds. What? Using a cooldown? Like any skill with a cooldown? Bro, you're going to have to be tanky. Well, I feel like you'll be able to have barrier up 100% of the time. While you have an active concentration skill, you deal 246% increased damage. Your barriers have increased duration as well. While you have a barrier, you apply 20% more chill. Okay, yeah, you're just going to be barrier chilling, freezing nonstop. My goodness. You deal more damage to enemies the more chilled they are. Up to 18% while they are frozen. Wow. Cold Source meta. Crackling energy restores mana upon pickup. Every time you stun an enemy, deal 45% lightning damage to them. Wow. Lucky hit. Crit strikes with shock skills have 50% chance to form a crackling energy. Your pyromancy skills deal 24% increased damage after you haven't taken damage for 3 seconds. Fireball and Meteor have 4.5% increased chance to critically strike per enemy hit. Dang. That's just Fireball and Meteor, though. Okay. Your pyromancy skills deal 3% increased direct damage for each source of burning on an enemy, up to 36%. 36.9% more damage to frozen or vulnerable enemies. And up to 18% more damage to enemies who are both frozen and vulnerable. Frost has increased damage to elites. You deal 12% increased damage to vulnerable enemies. Frost skills have up to a 9% chance to instantly freeze. Wow. I mean, that'll be huge on cold skills there. Unless you just use Frost Nova over and over again. Burning enemies deal reduced damage. Yeah, Fire Source is going to be so tanky. Killing a burning enemy grants attack speed. She'll be really strong. Burning effects last 18% longer. And 9% increased crit strike damage per nearby enemy up to 50%. What? 50% increased crit strike damage for burning enemies? Hitting enemies with shock skills increases your crit strike chance by 1-3%. Resets upon getting a crit strike. So yeah, you'll just be on hard crit strike there. Critical strike with shock skills increase your attack speed. Enemies deal 5, 10, 50% less damage for 5 seconds after being critically struck. And shock skills have a 9% chance to stun enemies. Pretty nice. You may only select one of the following. Your frost skills have up to 10% chance to make your next ice shards, frozen orb, or blizzard consume no mana and deal 40% more damage. Chances doubled against vulnerable enemies. Wow. After freeze expires, enemy explodes for 25% of the damage you dealt to them while frozen. I feel like that would be okay. Crackling energy hits one additional enemy. Each time crackling energy hits an enemy, your shock skill cooldowns are reduced by 0.1 seconds, increased to 0.25 seconds against elite. Crackling energy. Periodically damages nearby enemies when picked up. There's a lot of cooldown reduction for shock skills. It's like crit strike cooldown reduction. Cold skills are all about freeze and vulnerable, and fire skills are all about burning and honestly a lot of damage reduction. Yeah, there's a meteor skill. Close enemies take 10% more damage from your shock skills and deal 20% less damage to you. Lucky hit, up to 50% chance to gain 1 mana per source of burning on the enemy. Yeah, it's just all burn, burn, burn. You deal 25% increased burning damage to enemies over 50% life and 25% increased pyromancy skill direct damage to enemies under 50% life. That's just nice. I think Fire Source is going to be amazing. Fire and Cold, I mean, honestly, all three of the sources look good. I think Fire and Cold will be better unless the crit strike, damage reduction, cooldown reduction pieces of Lightning are just so good. Yeah, we've already gone through the skills. Source Dismount. That's cool. The enchantment system, like we said, you can take any skill and then do that. Put the enchant slot effect, which I think is a cool system for sure. Sorceress gearing, they don't give us any of that. Maybe this is a sorceress on the right. I see a wand. So increases skill damage, increases all resistances, increases crit strike chance, and improves healing. Same there, just defense, improves resource generation. Yeah, so here we can see all of her benefits. And that's the sorceress.